wonderful day this has been. What a rare mood I'm in. Isn't that what God is? Isn't it a rare, wonderful feeling of how much God loves us? Isn't it amazing? And I've said this over and over. I am amazed by how smart God is. You know, He's got so many things in store for us, and through His love, we can handle it. We can do that. And I just want to give you a little history of Hemming Bow, but I have to start when I was 12 years old. You may already know this, but I was raised Baptist. Doggone it. You know? But I loved going to church. And if you have children, oh my goodness, please bring them. Don't leave them at home or whatever. Bring their young children. They may not understand the message when they are younger, but just keep on keeping on, and I guarantee you, a little bit, you know, baby, how does a gnat eat an elephant? Wow, how is that? Well, he does it one bite at a time. And that's what your relationship with Jesus Christ is. You're taking little bites all the time. The more you're involved, the more that you worship, the more God comes into your heart. At the age of 12, in a little Baptist church in Columbia, Mississippi, of course, I would ask my mom for her pen, and I'd take the bulletin, and I would put my stash on Jesus. You know, I could just, and my mother called it doodling. And she'd say, "Give me my pen, you're gonna use up all my ink." Okay? But there was a Sunday night when there were only about 60 people there, and Brother Hoff was there, and guess what? Arlin wasn't doodling. Every word that Brother Hoff had to say, and a 12-year-old child, Brother Hoff was speaking directly to me. I understood everything that he had to say. And I went down and stood up. And you take your hands and you put them on the back of the pew. When the invitation was gone, there was, if you've ever heard the song, I surrender all to thee, my precious Savior, I surrender all. At the age of 12, Arlin Deese surrendered all. And when I went down that aisle, I was sitting in the middle pew. No one was on my pew. Nothing had been discussed with my parents. Nothing had been discussed with Brother Hoff. But when I went down, and Brother Hoff, I'm a kneel, hope I can get up, like this, and Brother Hoff reached out his hands. And of course, as a 12-year-old, I was sobbing. And when my head landed on Brother Hoff's shoulder, I have never, ever been the same. Now, when I went back to school and things like that, I just had a different feeling in my heart, and that was one of compassion. We all do things that I remember in the church. There were elderly ladies, and it was something that I just needed to do, and that was go to Miss Emma Jane, okay, Mrs. Floyd over here, and just give them a hug. There's nothing like a child giving you a hug, especially when you weren't expecting it. So that's Arlin. And at 77 years of age, I still believe that God, and he's my very best friend. I don't know if I could really make it through the day if I did not know Jesus Christ. It's a real privilege to know Jesus Christ. He's your best friend. And I have been very blessed in this life, financially, spiritually, and I had a talent of looking at old houses. Oh, no, this was 60 years ago. Y'all do know I bought the Myrtles in 1972 in a sheriff's sale. Did y'all know that? And then I sold it, bought it back 12 years later. There had been 3 different owners. And I bought it back and sold it to John and Tina Moss. Arlin, why did you sell it? Well, I want to tell you a little story. It's just the way God works. Bought it back, put in a restaurant and all this. And as you know, the tours are from 9 until 5. Well, we also have overnight guests. But the overnight guest wanted a tour. I have never given a tour of any home that I've ever owned, and that included Nottoway. So this lady, I don't know where she was from, but she was not from the South. And she said, you know, it says that you get a guided tour with the room, and we're leaving. We got to be in New Orleans at 9 o'clock to catch our flight. And it was already about 7 o'clock. And I said, well, okay, let me give you a tour. So I started out with the history and all. And you know, I just did real good. Oh, I did good. I was proud of myself. Then we go into the gentleman's parlor. And I'm trying to think of all these things I've heard the tour guides say. And so I started repeating what I had heard. Now, all of a sudden, the tour that I had been listening to was talking about Chloe. And this one happened, and that one happened, and this. And you see the mirror, the reflection, we clean it, but it still comes. I don't want to give you a tour of the murder. And I said to myself, What good does it doeth a man to lose his own soul? Gain the world, but lose your own soul. With that being said, look, I got a real good idea. Why don't y'all just stay here and just stay as long as you would like. You can't have hemming now, and you can't have the myrtles. I'm sorry, I don't want to say anything derogatory because they're wonderful. But this is the truth of God. That's what we have. We don't have to worry about some made-up thing. Some of it is true, some of it is not. But this is the truth. Boy, it's done. I feel like Jimmy Swaggart standing on the promises, see? But I was successful with the Myrtles, Mount Hope, Millbank in Jackson. Have you ever wondered who painted it pink when everything else is white? Guess what? Mrs. Catherine, what's Miss Catherine's last name? Anyway, from Jackson. And when he was from a designer from California, Bob Elliott Smith. And he chose that color. This is the color here. I said, look, if I paint that house pink, they're going to run me out of town. But now you realize, the Big Baptist Church, I'd already been there, and I knew a lot of people in Jackson through the Baptist Church. So, painted it pink. You know what? Nobody said anything. Jackson, Louisiana, everything they have, they don't have another color other than white. Notice the next time we drive through, everything's white. On a Saturday afternoon, Miss Catherine and 3 of the deacons of the First Baptist Church of Jackson knocked on my door. Come on in. Oh, we don't want to take just a second of your time, but we're on the building committee, and it's time to paint the church. It's always been white. But could you just give us a little help in how would you treat this? Sure. I had just painted a house in Oak Hills, and it was P47 by DeVoe Paint. I said, look, go by DeVoe and get a little bit of P47. If you go to Jackson this very second, please notice that the First Baptist Church of Jackson is not white. It's P47. Just a little. You realize how wonderful that was? You remember what did he say? A blessing. And sometimes we just need to step out of our comfort zone sometimes. You'd be surprised, it might be okay. So I acquired Nottaway Plantation in White Castle. I hope y'all have visited that great, great house. Largest antebellum plantation home in the South. 64 rooms, 53,000 square feet. And it was very well received. But a very wealthy man, Sir Paul Ramsey from Australia, was on tour. And he asked, do you think this house could be for sale? I mean, could you? Well, luckily, one of the tour guides knew that if I got enough money for my mother, I'd sell her. No. I wouldn't sell my mother, but I might think about renting her out for a couple of days. Okay? So, with that being said, I said, make an offer. In 1985, Ramsey Corporation of Australia, Hospital Corporation of America, made me an offer. I owed less than $100,000 on the property. Okay? They made an offer of $4.5 million. Okay? And I financed that $4.5 million over 5 years at 16.5% interest. You could do that in 85, you can't do it now. And when God can humble us in so many different ways, He can humble us through tragedies and upheavals in our life, or He can humble us through abundance of God's love, God's grace, and plenty. I still had my construction company, I still had my antique business. I asked God, what would you have me to do with this enormous sum of money? Remember that little boy at 12? I was that little boy again. God spoke to my heart, mind, as clearly as we're talking here, and said, provide a place that anyone and everyone can come as they need it to experience my unconditional love and unconditional forgiveness. So, I've always loved St. Francisville. So I came up, just driving, it's beautiful. And I pulled in Waterville Lakes Foundation. Now, if y'all remember, this was real busy when they were building the nuclear plants. And there were cars on concrete blocks. There was clothes stretched between the pine trees. But guess what? I parked my car and I could take each one of you and take you exactly where I was standing. You know what I said about that? I surrender often. This is the place. This is what God would have me to do. But it can't be something that's from 9 to 5. I have had times in my life, look, I needed a sunset. I have great friends and all this, but there are times when Arlin Deese has to have a one-on-one relationship with Jesus Christ, no matter how great your family may be, no matter how much you have. It's got to be the alignment of Jesus Christ, and I'm telling you, He's a smart man. He is just smart. You know, just follow Him. Why do people not just follow? But bought the old campground and acreage there and all this kind of thing. 238 acres. One way in, one way out. We started building and so forth, and you know, you've always had friends that they mean well, but sometimes they can just be sort of stab you a little bit. No. I'm going to say her name because if she was here, she'd say, Arlin, go ahead. Mrs. Darren Brown, C.J. Brown and Associates, Marianne Brown's mother, what am I trying to say? The Arboretum. here. And Mrs. Brown would come and she'd say, Arlin, are you sure that that's a period color? Is this a Persian rug, or is that's just Miss Brown? But guess what? She called and said, a group of us girls are coming to St. Francisville, and we'd like to go by and see what you're doing. Now, if y'all don't think I had to say, oh my goodness, what is Mrs. Brown going to say? Guess what? I was in that office, and they pulled up, and there were 5 ladies. I went around and I opened the door to Mrs. Sarah Brown. She got out, stood up, erect, as she always was, and she looked around, didn't say a word, and she said, Arlin, this is a beautiful place. I knew she had felt the presence of Jesus Christ, and I don't know whether she was aware of it or not, but didn't come anytime. She sent so many people here, but then I had an experience too. My brother is 10 years older than I am, and we don't really have a whole lot in common. Never have, just never have. And on Thanksgiving Day, at my parents' house, if the television wasn't on and the sports going and football and all this kind of thing, my brother and I just didn't have anything to talk about. We just didn't. We loved each other, but we just didn't have the compassion. But if I'm there and in my alignment with Jesus Christ, how easy would it be to put my arm around my brother Jack and say, Jack, I love you, and I am so glad that you're my brother. Why could I not do that on Thanksgiving Day? But if you're aligned in Jesus, it's so easy to do. Align yourself. That person that you may not have a whole lot of, give them some love. Just give them some love. So I needed a name for this place. Now, I'm lining it up here. You got Bill back there? Are your names there? Got that. Good. But I needed a name for this place. And we all, how the CPAs do, keep record of what this is and this and this. And we just put St. Francis. But it needed a name. So I was having lunch with Beth Fuller. She's a very, very, very good friend of mine in Baton Rouge. And we were having lunch. And I said to Beth, would you help me in naming the St. Francisville project? Well, you know what? I started telling her about Mrs. Sarah Brown. I started telling her about my brother. I started telling her about other people would come and say, thank you. I'm so glad I came. So Beth said to me, Arlin, when you hem a garment, you make slight adjustments in that garment so it fits a little bit better. Aren't you in a hemming process by your Jesus Christ in your heart? Aren't you being slightly altered And I couldn't wait to get up here and see what all was going on. I was still living in Baton Rouge at that time. And she said, you know, that's John James Audubon country. And she thought of the word bough, B-O-U-G-H, the largest branch of the largest live oak tree. And she said, you know, that's English, Louisiana. And she wrote the word on a little piece of paper, slid it over to my place setting, and said, Hemingbow. Spelled with one M, as in Hemingway. So when you hear the word Hemingbow, I'm hoping that in your heart and in your mind, you will know that this is a place of solace, peace. I have people that pass this office daily. No one has ever paid 1 penny in 35 years to be on the grounds of Hemingbow 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I have letters like this of people saying, thank you, you didn't know I was there, but thank you. And I am so thankful to be standing here today and welcoming you. And I'd like you to do just one thing for me. Help me out. You have no idea what a blessing this is for me. Okay? And there's one song that I think is very appropriate today, especially with all that's going on in town and with the other group. But this comes to my mind, and I'd like to sing it for you right now. Okay? Let others see Jesus in you. Let others see Jesus in you. Keep telling that story. Be faithful, be true. Let